The transport ship docked at Station Velora with a soft hiss of pressure seals. Inside the Galactic Academy of Diplomatic Sciences, thousands of students from hundreds of worlds continued their daily routines. They attended classes. They formed friendships. They learned the delicate art of words over weapons. But today was different. Today, a new student arrived. Kyron Voss stepped off the transport with the silence of falling snow. Her scaled skin shifted between dark purple and black, reflecting her carefully controlled emotions. Two golden eyes scanned the docking bay, noting every exit, every camera, every potential threat. She was Sindari. Her people were known throughout the galaxy as merchants and diplomats, but Kyron was neither of these things. She came from the Obsidian Court, a branch of Sindari society that the rest of her species pretended did not exist. The court trained children from birth in the arts of death. They created perfect weapons wrapped in beautiful skin. Kyron was 17 years old. She had killed for the first time at 12. The academy administrator, a nervous Pelori with feathers the color of rust, met her at the gate. His eyes refused to meet hers. "Welcome to the academy, Miss Voss," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "Your family has made generous donations to our institution. We are pleased to have you." Kyron said nothing. Words were tools, and she did not waste tools on unimportant conversations. The administrator led her through gleaming corridors filled with students. She watched them react to her presence. Some pretended not to notice her. Others whispered to their friends. A few simply stared with open fear. Good, fear was useful. Fear kept people at a distance. Distance kept her safe. The rumors had arrived before she did, of course. The daughter of the Obsidian Court. The girl who had put a rival family's heir in a medical pod for 6 months after he insulted her at a dinner party. The whispers said she had broken every bone in his body, one by one, while smiling. The whispers were wrong about the smiling. Kyron never smiled. The common room was large and filled with afternoon light from the massive windows that looked out into space. Dozens of species mixed together at tables and couches. A group of Korvax, large and four-armed, played some kind of board game in one corner. Several Velanthi, their blue skin glowing softly, studied together near the windows. A pair of Rilari, insectoid and clicking, shared food from a common plate. Kyron's golden eyes swept the room, cataloging everything. And then she saw him. He sat alone at a small table in the corner, a datapad in one hand and a metal container in the other. He was human. She recognized the species immediately, though she had never met one in person. Soft brown skin, dark hair cut short, average height, average build. Nothing remarkable about him at all. Except that when her gaze found him, he looked up. Most species looked away when Kyron's eyes met theirs. Some held her gaze for a moment before fear made them turn. The bravest managed a few seconds. The human looked at her and smiled. It was not a nervous smile. It was not the polite smile of diplomacy. It was warm and genuine, as if he was happy to see her, as if she was an old friend he had been waiting for. Then he returned to his datapad and his drink, dismissing her entirely. Kyron felt something she had not felt in years: confusion. She found her assigned quarters and spent the next hour unpacking her few possessions. The room was standard student housing, small, clean, functional. She had lived in worse. She had lived in better. The room did not matter. What mattered was information. That evening, she began her research. The human's name was Marcus Chen. He was 18 years old, a third-year student in the Diplomatic Studies program. His father was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Concord, a position of some importance. His mother was a professor of xenobiology at a university on the human homeworld. Earth, Category 12 Deathworld. Kyron had studied Deathworlds in her training. Most species evolved on peaceful planets where the greatest dangers were weather and occasional predators. Deathworlds were different. They were planets where everything was dangerous. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the bacteria. Earth was one of the worst. A world of extremes, where temperatures ranged from freezing to boiling depending on location and season. A world filled with predators, from massive sharks in the oceans to tiny spiders whose venom could kill in hours. A world where even the dominant species' own food could become dangerous if prepared incorrectly. Humans had not just survived this world, they had conquered it. Interesting. Over the next several days, Chiron observed Marcus Chen from a distance. She watched him attend classes, where he asked thoughtful questions and offered careful answers. She watched him eat meals with a small group of friends, a mixed collection of species who seemed genuinely comfortable in his presence. She watched him spend evenings in the observation deck, staring at the stars with an expression she could not read. He was kind. She saw him help a lost first-year student find their classroom. She saw him share his food with a Relari whose meal had been stolen as a prank. She saw him spend 3 hours tutoring a struggling Korvax in mathematics, asking for nothing in return. He was also something else, something harder to name. She first noticed it in the way he moved. Humans were not fast by galactic standards, not strong, not armored. But Marcus moved through crowds with a strange awareness. He never fully turned his back on open spaces. He positioned himself near exits without seeming to think about it. His eyes were always moving, always watching. She noticed it again when a door slammed suddenly nearby. Several students jumped at the sound. Marcus did not jump. His body went still for just a fraction of a second, and something changed in his eyes, something cold and calculating. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual warm expression. Chiron had seen that look before. She saw it in the mirror every morning. 1 week after her arrival, she approached his table in the common room. "May I sit here?" Marcus looked up at her. Those brown eyes met her golden ones without fear, without hatred, without anything she could easily identify. "Of course," he said, "I'm Marcus. I know who you are. I know who you are too." He gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Sit. I'll warn you, though, I'm terrible at small talk. I'll probably ask you something awkward like what your favorite color is or whether you believe in faster-than-light communication." Chiron sat. She was not sure why. "Your people have a reputation," she said. "So do yours. Does that concern you?" Marcus Chen smiled again, that same warm smile from the first day. But now, sitting across from him, Chiron saw something behind it, something old, something patient, something dangerous. "Not particularly," he said. "Would you like some coffee? It's toxic to most species, but I have a feeling you can handle it." Chiron felt the corner of her mouth twitch. It was not quite a smile, but it was close. 3 weeks passed at the academy. Chiron attended her classes. She completed her assignments. She kept to herself as she always did, but something had changed. She had a routine now. Every afternoon she would find Marcus Chen in the common room or the library or the observation deck, and she would sit near him. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they simply existed in the same space, each focused on their own work. It was strange. Chiron had never had a friend before. She was not sure if Marcus was a friend. She was not sure what he was. The incident happened on a Thursday. Marcus was walking back to his quarters after evening meal. The corridor he chose was not the most direct route, but it passed by a large window with a view of a nearby nebula. He liked to pause there sometimes and watch the colors shift and swirl. He never reached the window. 4 figures stepped out of a side passage and blocked his path. 3 Korvax and 1 Velanthe, all of them large, all of them wearing the expensive clothing of noble families. Chiron recognized them from her research. The children of powerful houses, all of them known for their hatred of humans. The largest Korvax, a male with scarred gray skin and 4 arms thick with muscle, stepped forward. Human, he said. The word was an insult in his mouth. You walk through our station like you belong here. Marcus stopped. His expression remained calm, almost pleasant. Good evening, Torak. How are your studies going? I heard you struggled with the exam last week. The Korvax's 4 eyes narrowed. You think you are clever. You think your soft words protect you. I think words are generally more useful than fists. But I'm open to other perspectives. Torek moved fast. Korvax were known for their speed despite their size, a product of their high-gravity homeworld. His upper right arm shot out and grabbed Marcus by the front of his uniform, lifting him off the ground and slamming him against the corridor wall. Your kind does not belong in the Concord, Torek growled. Your species is young and weak. You have no history, no culture, no right to speak as equals to ancient peoples. Marcus hung in the Korvax's grip. His feet dangled above the floor, his back pressed against cold metal. By every measure, he was helpless. But he did not look helpless. Torak, Marcus said. His voice had not changed. It was still calm, still pleasant, still almost friendly. You have about 3 seconds to take your hands off me. The Korvax laughed. The sound was deep and harsh. Or what, human? You will talk me to death. No, Marcus's eyes met Torak's. All 4 of them, one by one, holding each gaze for a heartbeat before moving to the next. I'll hurt you, and then I'll hurt your friends, and then I'll file a report with the Academy administration documenting how 4 students from noble families attacked an ambassador's son in an empty corridor. By tomorrow morning, your families will know. By next week, the diplomatic consequences will begin. By next month, your house's trade agreements with Earth will be under review. He smiled. It was not a warm smile. I'm a diplomatic studies student, Torak. Did you think I only learned to talk? Silence filled the corridor. The other 3 attackers exchanged uncertain glances. Torak's grip on Marcus did not loosen, but something changed in his posture. Something in his deep brain, in the ancient animal part that all species carried, sent a warning signal. Danger, predator, run. You are bluffing, Torak said, but his voice was less certain now. Try me. The moment stretched. Marcus hung in the Korvax's grip, relaxed and patient as if he had all the time in the universe. His heart rate did not increase. His breathing did not quicken. He simply waited, watching Torak with eyes that held no fear at all. Torak let go. Marcus dropped to the floor, landing easily on his feet. He straightened his uniform with casual movements, brushing away invisible dust. Thank you, he said. I hope your studies improve. The next exam is supposed to be difficult. He walked away. He did not look back. From a maintenance alcove 20 meters down the corridor, Chiron watched. She had been following Marcus for several days now, studying him as she had been trained to study targets. She had seen him in classrooms and common rooms and dining halls. She had seen him laugh with friends and argue with professors and help struggling students. She had never seen this. The Korvax were a warrior species. Their homeworld was twice Earth's gravity, and they had evolved strength and speed to match. Torak was large even for his kind, a trained fighter from a military family. He should have been able to break Marcus in half without effort. But he had backed down. He had looked into a human's eyes and seen something that frightened him. Chiron understood suddenly why the galaxy feared humans. It was not their strength. Many species were stronger. It was not their speed. Many species were faster. It was not their technology or their numbers or their resources. It was this absolute refusal to be afraid, this calm certainty in the face of death, this ancient predator's patience, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Humans came from a world where everything was trying to kill them. They had fought and died and survived for 100,000 generations. They had hunted animals larger than themselves across endless plains. They had faced predators with nothing but sharpened sticks and refused to run. Fear was a luxury their ancestors could not afford, So they had evolved past it. Chiron returned to her quarters that night and sat in the darkness for a long time. She thought about her training. She thought about the obsidian court and the lessons they had taught her. She thought about what it meant to be a weapon. She had been trained to kill without hesitation, to remove emotions from the equation of violence, to become something cold and efficient and deadly. But Marcus Chen was different. He had not been trained. He simply was. The calm she had spent years learning was natural to him, as natural as breathing. The next morning, she found him in the common room. He was reading his datapad again, drinking his toxic coffee, looking for all the world like an ordinary student with no concerns at all. She sat across from him. "You should have hurt them," she said. Marcus looked up. His expression was curious, nothing more. "Why?" "They will try again. You showed weakness by letting them go." "I showed restraint. There's a difference." Chiron leaned forward. "Is there? In my experience, mercy is just weakness by another name." Marcus set down his datapad. He looked at her for a long moment, his brown eyes thoughtful and calm. "My grandmother," he said, "lived in a small village in the mountains of Earth. When she was 83 years old, she found a spider in her kitchen. It was venomous. Its bite could kill a healthy adult in hours. She crushed it with her sandal and went back to cooking dinner." Chiron waited. She did not understand the point of the story. "She could have run," Marcus continued. "She could have called for help. She could have been afraid, but she wasn't, because fear would not have helped her. Fear would not have made the spider less dangerous. Fear would only have made her weaker." He picked up his coffee and took a long drink. "I wasn't afraid of Torek because being afraid would not have helped me. But I didn't hurt him because hurting him would not have helped me either. I chose the option that gave me the most advantage with the least cost." "And if he had not backed down?" Marcus smiled. It was the warm smile she had come to know, but behind it something else flickered, something cold, something ancient. "Then I would have made a different choice." Chiron sat back. She understood now. This was not weakness. This was not mercy. This was control. Perfect, absolute control over every aspect of himself. The ability to choose violence or peace with equal ease. The freedom to be kind when kindness served him and brutal when brutality was required. This was what the galaxy feared. Not human strength or speed or endurance, but human choice. The terrifying knowledge that every act of human kindness was deliberate, that every moment of human peace was maintained by conscious effort, and that the peace could end whenever they decided it should. "Teach me," Chiron said. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Teach you what?" "How to choose." He studied her for a long moment, then he nodded. "Okay," he said, "but first you have to learn how to play chess." Chess was a human game. It was old, Marcus explained, older than space travel, older than computers, older than most human civilizations. 2 players, 2 armies, 64 squares. Simple rules that created endless complexity. Chiron learned the movements of each piece in minutes. She lost her first game in 12 moves. "You attack too quickly," Marcus said, resetting the board. "You see an opportunity and you take it without considering what comes after." Speed is an advantage. Speed is a tool. Like any tool, it has proper uses. In chess, patience usually wins. They played again. Chiron lost again, this time in 20 moves. "Better," Marcus said. "You're thinking now, that's good." Weeks passed. They played chess every evening, sometimes for hours, the board between them like a battlefield in miniature. Chiron began to understand what Marcus was teaching her. It was not about the game. It was about the thinking behind the game. An assassin moved fast, struck hard, eliminated threats before they could respond, but a strategist thought further, considered consequences, planned not just the next move but the next 10 moves, the next 100 moves. The obsidian court had made her a weapon. Marcus was teaching her to be something more. But she was not the only one learning. Chiron watched Marcus with the same careful attention she gave everything. She watched him interact with professors and students and staff. She watched him navigate the complex social structures of the academy, balancing friendships and rivalries with easy grace. And she noticed things. Marcus Chen was kind. This was obvious to anyone who spent more than a few minutes in his presence. He helped struggling students without expecting payment. He remembered names and birthdays and small personal details. He shared his food and his time and his attention freely. But his kindness had edges. She saw it in the way he handled conflicts, a dispute between two student factions over laboratory space, a disagreement between roommates that threatened to become violent, a minor scandal involving stolen exam answers. Marcus did not solve these problems with force. He solved them with words, with carefully applied pressure, with gentle suggestions that somehow always led to the outcome he wanted. He was manipulating them, all of them, not for personal gain, not for power, but because he saw problems and felt compelled to fix them. He arranged people like chess pieces, guiding them toward better outcomes than they would have found on their own. It was, Chiron realized, a different kind of control, not the control of fear but the control of understanding. Marcus knew how people worked. He knew their desires and fears, their strengths and weaknesses, and he used that knowledge to help them. Fascinating. One evening, she asked him about it directly. "You move through this academy like a ghost," she said. They were in the observation deck, the stars spread out before them like scattered diamonds. Everyone thinks they know you. Nobody actually does. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Is that what you think?" "It is what I observe. You show people what they want to see. The friendly human, the helpful student, the ambassador's son, but those are masks. Beneath them you are something else." "And what am I beneath the masks?" Chiron considered the question. She had spent weeks studying this human, learning his patterns, trying to understand the strange creature who smiled at assassins and faced down warriors without fear. "You are like me," she said finally. "Trained to watch, trained to wait, trained to act only when the moment is right, but your training was different. Mine taught me to kill. Yours taught you to connect." Marcus turned to look at her. The starlight caught his eyes, making them gleam. "My grandmother again," he said. "She used to tell me that humans survived not because we were the strongest or the fastest. We survived because we learned to work together. A single human is weak. A group of humans is dangerous. A society of humans is unstoppable. Connection as a survival strategy. Connection as a weapon," he smiled slightly. "The deadliest weapon our species ever developed. We can form bonds with almost anything. Other humans, other species, animals, even machines. We adopt, we adapt, we include, and in doing so we grow stronger." Chiron thought about the students who orbited Marcus like planets around a sun, the Relari who brought him gifts of food, the Velanthi who sought his advice on personal matters, the Korvax who had once despised humans but now nodded respectfully when Marcus passed. "You are building an army," she said. "I'm building a family. There's a difference." "Is there?" Marcus laughed. It was a genuine laugh, warm and surprised. "You really are like me, aren't you? Always looking for the angle, always searching for the hidden motive." "There is always a hidden motive." "Not always." He turned back to the stars. "Sometimes I help people because helping people makes me happy. Sometimes I make friends because friendship is valuable for its own sake. Not everything is a strategy, Chiron." She did not believe him, but she wanted to. The chess games continued. Chiron won her first match after 2 months of practice. Marcus congratulated her with genuine pleasure, as if her victory was his own. "You're ready for the next lesson," he said. "Which is?" "Learning when not to win." She did not understand, but she was beginning to trust him enough to listen. Spring came to Station Velora, or what passed for spring in a space station. The environmental systems shifted to warmer temperatures and longer light cycles. Students began preparing for the mid-cycle gala, the Academy's most important social event of the year. Chiron received an invitation. She had not expected one. The gala was for the elite of the Academy, the children of important families, the stars of various academic programs. Assassins from the Obsidian Court were not typically welcome at such events. "You should go," Marcus said when she showed him the invitation. "I have nothing to wear." "I'll help you find something." "I do not dance." "I'll teach you." She looked at him. His expression was earnest, open, without any hidden agenda she could detect. For a moment, she almost believed he simply wanted her to attend a party and have a good time. "Why do you care?" she asked. Marcus was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, softer, more serious. "Because you've spent your whole life being told what you are: weapon, tool, monster. I think you deserve a chance to be something else, even if it's just for one night." Chiron felt something strange in her chest, a tightness that was not pain, a warmth that was not fever. "And what would I be if not those things?" Marcus smiled. It was the warmest smile she had ever seen. "My friend," he said, "if you want to be." Chiron Voss, daughter of the Obsidian Court, trained killer, perfect weapon, felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She had not cried since she was 7 years old. "Yes," she said, her voice was barely a whisper, "I would like that." The gala was in 3 weeks. She had that long to learn to dance, to find appropriate clothing, to prepare herself for an event completely outside her experience. She had that long to decide if she could be more than what she was made to be. Looking at Marcus Chen, at his patient smile and his steady eyes, she thought that maybe, just maybe, she could. The grand atrium gleamed with light. Thousands of tiny floating lamps drifted near the ceiling, casting soft shadows across the 300 guests below. Music played from hidden speakers, a gentle melody that blended styles from a dozen different worlds. Everywhere Chiron looked, she saw wealth and power dressed in silk and jewels. She felt out of place. Her dress was simple, dark blue fabric that shifted like water when she moved. Marcus had helped her choose it, arguing that elegance required simplicity. She was not sure she believed him, but she trusted his judgment more than her own in matters like this. Marcus stood beside her, wearing the formal black suit that humans favored for such occasions. He looked comfortable, at ease, as if he attended events like this every week. Perhaps he did. The son of an ambassador would have experience with formal gatherings. "You're stiff," he said quietly. "Try to relax." "I am relaxed." "Your shoulders are near your ears, your hands are clenched, and you've identified every exit in the room. That's not relaxed." Chiron forced her shoulders down. "Better." "A little," he smiled. "Come on, let's get something to drink." They moved through the crowd together. Chiron noticed how people reacted to them. Some smiled at Marcus, recognizing him, offering greetings. Others looked at her with curiosity or suspicion. A few simply stared. She ignored them all. She was here to enjoy herself, Marcus had said, to experience something normal for once in her life. She was determined to try. The drinks were colorful and sweet. The food was exotic and delicious. Marcus introduced her to students she had never spoken to, and she found herself having actual conversations about classes and hobbies and plans for the future. It was strange. It was wonderful. For one perfect hour, Chiron almost forgot what she was. Then she saw them. 4 servers moved through the crowd with trays of drinks. They wore the same uniform as the other staff, plain gray suits with the Academy's symbol on the chest. They smiled the same smiles, offered the same polite phrases. But they moved wrong. Chiron had spent her entire life learning to recognize threats. These 4 people were threats. Their movements were too precise, too controlled. Their eyes scanned the room with professional focus. Their positions formed a slowly tightening circle around a single point. She followed their gaze and felt her blood run cold. Sarine Vel, the daughter of the Velanthe ambassador, 16 years old, beautiful, beloved by her classmates. Her marriage had been arranged to seal an alliance between two powerful sectors. Her death would shatter that alliance and destabilize the entire region. Chiron knew all of this because she had read the girl's file months ago when she first arrived at the academy. She had read everyone's file. It was habit. It was training. Now that training was screaming at her. The assassins were void walkers. She recognized their style, the way they held themselves, the small tells that only another killer would notice. Void walkers were expensive, professional, nearly impossible to stop once they began their work. She had perhaps 30 seconds before they reached their target. Chiron calculated her options. She could reach Sarine first, probably. She was faster than she looked, trained since childhood in movement and violence, but doing so would reveal everything she was. It would confirm every rumor about the Obsidian Court. It would destroy any chance she had of being something more than a weapon. She hesitated. Marcus did not. He was moving before Chiron fully understood what was happening. One moment he stood beside her, a drink in his hand. The next moment, he was cutting through the crowd with a speed and purpose that seemed impossible for his casual posture. The first Void Walker saw him coming too late. Marcus's drink splashed into the assassin's face, and while the man blinked, Marcus grabbed his tray and swung it in a sharp arc. The metal edge caught the assassin's temple with a crack that Chiron heard from across the room. The man dropped. The other three reacted instantly. Their cover was blown. They drew weapons from hidden sheaths, neural disruptors that could kill silently and leave no evidence. The crowd began to scream and scatter. Marcus was already among them. Chiron had trained with the finest combat instructors in the galaxy. She had watched warriors from 100 species demonstrate their arts. She had never seen anything like Marcus Chen in that moment. He was not fast, not by Void Walker standards, not by her standards, but he moved with a terrible efficiency, wasting no motion, committing fully to every action. When a disruptor blast caught him in the shoulder, he did not stop. When a knife opened a gash across his ribs, he used the pain somehow, turning it into fuel for a headbutt that shattered his attacker's face. Human endurance. Chiron had read about it. Humans did not stop when they were hurt. They could not stop. Their bodies flooded with chemicals that blocked pain, increased strength, sharpened focus. They became something other than themselves, something ancient, something terrible. Something designed by evolution to kill anything that threatened them. 11 seconds. That was how long the fight lasted. 11 seconds from Marcus's first movement to his last. When it ended, 4 Void Walker assassins lay broken on the floor, and Marcus Chen stood over them, bleeding from half a dozen wounds, his formal suit ruined. Sarine Vel was untouched. She stood frozen near the window, her blue skin pale with shock, tears streaming down her face. Marcus turned to look at her. Despite his injuries, despite the blood soaking his shirt, he smiled. "You're safe now," he said. His voice was gentle, as if he was speaking to a frightened child. "Everything's going to be okay." Security finally arrived, too late to matter. Medical staff rushed forward to treat the wounded. The crowd babbled with shock and fear and excitement. In the chaos, everyone was asking the same question. How had he done it? Chiron knew the answer. She had seen it in his eyes during the fight. That ancient thing, that predator's focus. The human capacity for violence that their species usually kept locked away, civilized, controlled. Marcus had let it out, just for a moment, just long enough. She made her way through the crowd until she stood before him. The medical staff tried to push her aside, but one look from her golden eyes made them reconsider. "That was foolish," she said. Marcus laughed, blood-stained his teeth. Probably. You could have died. Also probably. Why? He looked at her with those steady brown eyes. Even now, even bleeding and broken, there was no fear in them, no regret. Because I wasn't going to stand there and watch someone get murdered, he said, not while I could do something about it. Chiron felt that strange tightness in her chest again, that warmth. You did not know her, she said. Her death would have meant nothing to you. Marcus shook his head slowly. Everyone means something, that's the whole point. The medical staff finally managed to get him onto a stretcher. As they carried him away, he caught Chiron's eye and smiled once more. I'll teach you the next chess lesson when I get out, he said. It's an important one. What is it? Sometimes, Marcus said, the winning move is to sacrifice your king. They carried him away. Chiron stood alone in the ruined gala, surrounded by chaos and fear, and felt something shift inside her. For her whole life, she had been taught that strength meant survival, that the strong lived and the weak died, that caring about others was a vulnerability to be exploited. Marcus Chen had just proven all of that wrong. He was not strong by galactic standards. He was not fast or armored or armed. But he had walked into certain death to save a girl he did not know, simply because it was the right thing to do. That was a different kind of strength, a kind Chiron had never understood before. She looked at the blood on the floor, his blood spilled for a stranger. And she made a decision. Tomorrow, she would visit him in the medical bay. Tomorrow, she would begin learning what it meant to be something more than a weapon. Tonight, she had seen the truth about humans. They were not dangerous because they could kill. They were dangerous because they could love, because they would die for people they had never met, because their weakness was also their greatest strength. Chiron Voss, assassin of the Obsidian Court, felt tears on her face for the second time in her life. They tasted like hope. The medical bay was quiet. White walls, soft lights, the gentle hum of healing machines doing their work. Marcus lay in a bed near the window, bandages wrapped around his torso, his shoulder sealed with medical gel. He looked pale but peaceful, reading something on a datapad as if he had not nearly died the night before. Chiron stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching him. He looked so ordinary, so human. It was hard to believe this was the same creature who had destroyed 4 trained assassins with his bare hands. Are you going to stand there all day? Marcus asked without looking up. The chair's more comfortable than it looks. She entered and sat beside his bed. Up close she could see the damage more clearly. Bruises darkened his skin. The bandages on his ribs showed faint red stains. Human blood, so fragile, so easily spilled. The doctors say you will recover fully, she said, though you will carry scars. Humans usually do. We heal everything eventually, but we keep the marks. He set down his datapad and looked at her. Is that what you came to tell me? No. Then why are you here? Chiron was silent for a moment. She had rehearsed this conversation a dozen times during the night. She had prepared arguments and explanations. Now, sitting beside him, all her preparation seemed useless. My people sent me here to watch you, she said, to observe humans, to determine if your species was a threat to Sindari interests. Marcus raised an eyebrow. I figured it was something like that. You knew. I suspected. An assassin from the Obsidian Court transfers to a diplomatic academy filled with political targets. It was either reconnaissance or preparation for something worse. He shrugged, then winced at the movement. I decided to assume the first and hope I was right. You were. My mission was observation only, no action without direct orders. And have you received any orders? Chiron met his eyes. I received orders this morning. My handlers wanted a full report on human capabilities after what happened at the gala. They wanted to know how you defeated 4 Voidwalkers alone. What did you tell them? The truth. That humans are more dangerous than we understood. That your species possesses a capacity for violence that exceeds our predictions. That you should be classified as a significant threat. Marcus was quiet. His expression did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. Disappointment, perhaps, or resignation. I also told them, Chiron continued, that I would not be sending any more reports, that my mission was complete, that I was resigning from the Obsidian Court. The room went very still. Chiron, Marcus said slowly, do you understand what you're saying? The court doesn't accept resignations. I know. They'll send someone for you, someone like you used to be. I know that too. Then why? Chiron looked at her hands, killer's hands, weapons hands. For her whole life, those hands had served the court. They had done terrible things in the name of duty and survival. But last night she had watched Marcus Chen use his hands to save a stranger's life. He had not hesitated. He had not calculated the cost. He had simply acted because acting was the right thing to do. You asked me once what I wanted to learn, she said. I told you I wanted to learn how to choose. I have made my choice. Which is? She looked up at him. I choose to be your friend, whatever that costs. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly his face broke into a smile. Not his diplomatic smile, not his friendly student smile. Something deeper, something real. You know, he said, when I first saw you in the common room, I could tell you were dangerous. It was obvious to anyone who knew what to look for, but I also saw something else. What? Loneliness. You looked like someone who had never had a choice about anything in their entire life. Someone who was tired of being what other people made them. Chiron felt her throat tighten. Is that why you approached me? Partly, but mostly I approached you because you seemed interesting, and because I thought maybe if I gave you a chance you might surprise me. He reached out and took her hand. His grip was warm and gentle. I was right. They sat in silence for a while. The medical machines hummed. The stars turned slowly outside the window. For the first time in her life, Chiron felt something she did not have a word for. Peace, perhaps, or belonging. Tell me about Earth, she said finally. Tell me about your world. Marcus smiled. What do you want to know? Everything. So he told her. He told her about blue oceans and green forests, about mountains that touched the clouds and deserts that stretched to the horizon. He told her about cities of glass and steel, about villages of wood and stone. He told her about humans living in every environment their planet offered, adapting and surviving and thriving. He told her about predators and prey, about the endless competition of nature. He told her about wolves that humans had tamed into dogs, about horses that humans had ridden to war, about cats that humans had welcomed into their homes for reasons no one fully understood. We connect with things, Marcus said. It's what we do. We see something dangerous and we think, I wonder if we could be friends. We see something strange and we think, I wonder what it's really like. We can't help it. It's in our nature. Even when the thing you connect with could kill you. Especially then. He squeezed her hand. The best friends are the ones who could destroy you but choose not to. Chiron thought about that. About all the things she could do to him if she wanted. About all the reasons she should want to. About how none of those reasons mattered anymore. I have never had a friend before, she said. I know. I do not know how to be one. Neither did I once. You learn, you make mistakes. You apologize, you try again, he smiled. It's not so different from chess, really, just with higher stakes. A soft chime announced a visitor. The door opened, and Sareen Vell stepped into the medical bay. Her blue skin still looked pale, and dark circles shadowed her eyes, but she moved with purpose. She carried a small box in her hands. I wanted to thank you, she said to Marcus. Her voice trembled slightly. You saved my life. My family's honor demands that I acknowledge this debt. Marcus shook his head. There's no debt. I did what anyone would do. No, Saren's eyes were fierce. No one else moved. 300 people in that room and only you acted. Do not tell me anyone would do the same. I know better. She set the box on the table beside his bed. This is a gift from my father, a communication device with direct access to the Valanthe diplomatic network. If you ever need our help for anything, you have only to ask. Marcus looked at the box, then at Saren, then at Chiron. Something passed between the three of them, an understanding, a beginning. Thank you, he said. I hope I never need to use it, but thank you. Saren nodded. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. The stories we tell about humans are wrong, she said. We say your species is dangerous because you come from a deadly world, but that is not the truth, is it? What do you think the truth is? Saren looked at him with those pale blue eyes. You are dangerous because you care, because you will bleed for strangers, because you love too easily and too deeply. That is terrifying in a galaxy where most species have learned to protect themselves by feeling nothing. She left. Chiron and Marcus sat in silence for a moment. She's right, Chiron said finally. Your species is terrifying. Is that a problem? Chiron considered the question. She thought about her training, her past, the person she had been built to become. She thought about the Obsidian Court and the hunters they would send. She thought about the long road ahead, full of danger and uncertainty. Then she thought about Marcus Chen, who smiled at assassins and saved strangers and somehow, impossibly, saw something worth saving in her. No, she said, I think it might be exactly what I needed. Marcus grinned. Good. Now I believe I owe you a chess lesson. The board is in my bag if you want to get it. You just fought 4 assassins. You need rest. I can rest and play chess at the same time. Besides, you still haven't learned the most important lesson. Which is? Marcus leaned back against his pillows, looking tired but content. The game isn't about winning, he said. It's about making the next move, and the one after that, and the one after that. You keep playing no matter what. You don't give up, you don't surrender, you don't stop. Because that's what humans do. That's what we've always done. He met her eyes. And now it's what you do too, if you want. Chiron felt something bloom in her chest. Hope, possibility, a future she had never imagined for herself. She retrieved the chess board and set it between them. Teach me, she said. And so he did. Outside the window, the stars continued their ancient dance. Somewhere in the void, ships carried news of the attack and its aftermath. Somewhere else, the Obsidian Court received Chiron's final message and began to plan their response. Somewhere else still, the Valanthe ambassador spoke of the human who had saved his daughter, and word spread through diplomatic channels like wildfire. But in the quiet medical bay, none of that mattered. There was only the board, the pieces, and 2 unlikely friends learning to trust each other. The human Deathworlder smiled. The assassin smiled back. And the galaxy slowly began to change.